Danny Morgan was not like other boys his age. While most 15-year-olds spent their time playing sports or hanging out with friends, Danny preferred to read books about space and aliens. He wore thick glasses that kept sliding down his nose, and his backpack was always heavy with science magazines and notebooks. The other kids at Lincoln High School made fun of him, but Danny did not care much. He had more important things to think about. It was a hot Tuesday afternoon in August 2187. School had just ended, and Danny was walking home through the old industrial area of the city. Most people avoided this part of town. The buildings were old and falling apart, and weeds grew everywhere. But Danny liked it here. It was quiet and nobody bothered him. He could think about the things he loved, like the alien species that humans had discovered 5 years ago. Danny was thinking about a research article he had read that morning when he heard a sound. It was soft and sad, like an animal in pain. The sound came from somewhere behind a broken fence covered in rust. Danny stopped walking. He knew he should probably keep going and mind his own business. But his curiosity was too strong. He found a gap in the fence and squeezed through. The metal scraped against his backpack, but he managed to get to the other side. He followed the sound through tall grass and piles of old junk. Then he saw something that made his heart beat faster. There was a creature chained to a metal pole in a small clearing. Danny had never seen anything like it before, not even in his books. The creature was about the size of a big dog, but it was definitely not from Earth. Its fur was a deep blue color that seemed to shine when the light hit it. The creature looked like a wolf, but its eyes glowed with a bright amber light. Those eyes looked intelligent, not like a regular animal's eyes at all. The creature was in bad shape. Its front left paw was caught in a metal trap, and there was dried blood on its fur. A thick chain was wrapped around its neck, cutting into the skin. The creature looked thin and weak, like it had not eaten in days. Danny took a careful step forward. The creature saw him and made a low growling sound. Its ears pressed flat against its head, and Danny could tell it was scared. He stopped moving and knelt down on the ground, trying to look less dangerous. "Hey there," Danny said softly. "I am not going to hurt you." The creature kept growling, but the sound was not very strong. It was too weak to be really threatening. Danny looked at the chains and the trap. Whoever had done this was cruel. This was clearly an alien creature, probably brought to Earth illegally. The exotic animal trade was supposed to be stopped years ago, but Danny knew it still happened. He slowly took off his backpack and opened it. Inside was his lunch that his mother had packed that morning. He had not eaten it yet. Danny unwrapped his sandwich and pulled off a piece of turkey. He tossed it gently toward the creature. The alien wolf snapped up the food immediately. For a moment, its glowing eyes looked different, almost surprised. It stared at Danny as if it could not believe what had just happened. "You are smart, are you not?" Danny said quietly. "I can see it in your eyes. Whoever chained you up like this is a monster." The creature tilted its head slightly, still watching him. Danny threw another piece of turkey, and again the creature ate it quickly. They stayed like that for several minutes, just looking at each other. Danny felt strange, like the creature was studying him just as much as he was studying it. Finally, Danny stood up slowly. "I have to go home now," he said, "but I will come back tomorrow. I promise I will help you." The creature made a small whining sound. Danny was not sure, but it almost seemed like the creature understood him. That night, Danny could not sleep. He kept thinking about the blue wolf creature chained in that empty lot. He wondered where it came from and how it had ended up here. He wondered if it had a family somewhere, waiting for it to come home. Most of all, he wondered what he should do. The smart thing would be to tell his mother. She was a veterinarian and knew how to handle animals. She also worked with some of the legal alien species that were allowed on Earth. She would know what to do, but Danny was worried. If he told anyone, the authorities might take the creature away. They might put it in a lab somewhere, or worse, they might try to send it back to wherever the smugglers got it from. That could take months or even years, and the creature might not survive that long. No, Danny decided. He would handle this himself, at least for now. He would bring food and water tomorrow. He would try to help the creature get better. Then he would figure out what to do next. The next morning, Danny woke up early. He went downstairs before his mother was awake and packed extra food in his backpack. He also took some bandages and medicine from the first aid kit. He had watched his mother treat injured animals hundreds of times. He thought he could at least clean the creature's wounds. School seemed to last forever that day. Danny could not focus on any of his classes. His math teacher called on him twice, and both times he had no idea what the question was. His best friend, a quiet girl named Sophie, asked him if he was feeling okay. Danny just nodded and said he had not slept well. When school finally ended, Danny ran all the way to the industrial district. He was breathing hard by the time he squeezed through the gap in the fence. He hurried to the clearing, afraid that the creature might be gone or that something bad might have happened. But the creature was still there, still chained to the pole. It lifted its head when it saw Danny, and its amber eyes seemed to brighten a little. This time it did not growl. "Hey," Danny said, kneeling down a safe distance away. "I came back, just like I promised." He pulled out a bottle of water and poured some into a plastic bowl he had brought. He slid the bowl across the ground toward the creature. The alien wolf sniffed at it, then began drinking desperately. It had clearly been very thirsty. Danny waited until the creature finished drinking before he pulled out the food. He had brought leftover chicken from dinner and some bread. He tossed small pieces to the creature, who ate everything quickly. "Slow down," Danny said gently. "You will make yourself sick." When the creature finished eating, it lay down and watched Danny. Its tail moved slightly, not quite wagging but not hostile either. Danny decided to try something brave. He slowly moved closer, talking the whole time in a soft voice. "I want to look at your paw," he explained. "That trap looks really bad. I have some medicine that might help." The creature's eyes followed every movement Danny made. When he got within arm's reach, the creature tensed up but did not try to bite or run away. Danny carefully reached out his hand, moving very slowly. His heart was pounding so hard he thought the creature must be able to hear it. His fingers touched the blue fur. It was softer than he expected and warm. The creature made a small sound, but it was not aggressive. Encouraged, Danny moved his hand along the creature's side, checking for other injuries. There were some cuts and bruises under the fur, but nothing too serious except for the trapped paw. "Okay," Danny whispered. "This is going to hurt a little, but I need to open this trap. Can you trust me?" The creature looked directly into Danny's eyes. For a moment, Danny felt something strange in his head, like a gentle pressure or a warm feeling. He shook his head, thinking he must be imagining things. But the feeling did not go away. It almost seemed like the creature was trying to communicate with him somehow. Danny worked on the trap for several minutes. It was old and rusty, but finally it clicked open. The creature pulled its paw free and whimpered. Danny quickly pulled out the bandages and medicine. He cleaned the wound as gently as he could and wrapped it carefully. "There," he said. "That should feel better." The creature sniffed at the bandage, then looked at Danny again. This time, Danny was sure he felt that strange pressure in his mind again. And with it came a feeling that was not his own. It was gratitude and relief, and it was coming from the creature. Danny sat back, amazed. This was no ordinary animal. This was something special, something incredible. And somehow, without planning it, he had just made a promise to help it survive. Danny visited the creature every single day after school. He always brought food, water, and clean bandages. Sometimes he brought books and read out loud while the creature rested. He was not sure if the alien wolf understood the words, but it seemed to like the sound of his voice. The creature would lay its head down and close its glowing amber eyes, looking almost peaceful. By the third day, the creature no longer pulled away when Danny approached. By the fifth day, it let him change the bandages without any fuss. By the seventh day, something amazing happened. The creature actually moved closer to Danny on its own and rested its head against his leg. Danny reached down and scratched behind the creature's ears. The blue fur was incredibly soft. "I need to give you a name," Danny said. "I cannot just keep calling you the creature. How about Nova? The pattern in your fur looks like stars, like a nova explosion in space." The creature, Nova, made a soft sound that might have been approval. Danny smiled. He was getting better at understanding the small noises Nova made. A low rumble meant she was content. A sharp huff meant she was alert or worried. A whine meant she was in pain or scared. Yes, Danny had decided Nova was female. He was not completely sure, but something about the way she moved and acted made him think so. And through that strange mental connection they seemed to share, he felt like she was confirming his guess. On the 8th day, something extraordinary happened that changed everything. Danny was checking Nova's wounded paw, which was healing nicely. The bandage was almost unnecessary now. As he gently touched the healing skin, he felt that familiar warm pressure in his mind. But this time it was much stronger. It was like a door had opened inside his head, a door he never knew existed. Suddenly, images flooded into Danny's mind. He saw a sky that was purple and orange, not blue like Earth's sky. 3 moons hung in that alien sky, each one a different size. He saw forests made of trees with silver leaves that seemed to sing in the wind. He saw creatures like Nova, dozens of them running together through those strange forests. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles, working together like they shared one mind. Then the images changed. Danny saw Nova as a small pup, playing with her brothers and sisters. They tumbled over each other, nipping playfully and chasing through the silver trees. An adult wolf watched over them, larger and more magnificent than Nova, with fur that had silver tips that caught the light. This was Nova's mother, Danny somehow knew. He could feel the love and safety Nova had felt in those moments. But then the memory turned dark. Danny saw figures in black uniforms with weapons. He felt Nova's terror as nets fell from the sky. He felt the pain of the stun weapon that knocked her unconscious. He saw her siblings being dragged away in cages, heard their frightened cries through the strange mental link they all shared. Danny pulled his hand back, gasping for air. His heart was racing and his head felt dizzy. Nova was watching him with those glowing eyes, and Danny understood now what he was seeing in them. It was not just intelligence. It was a person. Nova was as much a person as he was, just in a different form. "You showed me your memories," Danny said, his voice shaking. "You are telepathic. You can share thoughts and feelings." Nova made a soft sound and moved her head closer to Danny's hand. When he touched her again, he felt her emotions clearly. Relief that he finally understood. Sadness for her lost family. Fear of the people who had captured her. And something else, something warm and growing. Trust. Maybe even friendship. "I am so sorry," Danny whispered. "I am sorry about what happened to you and your family. But I promise I am going to get you out of here. I am going to help you get home." Nova pressed her forehead against Danny's chest. Through their connection, Danny felt her gratitude and hope. But he also felt her worry. The people who had chained her here would come back eventually. They would not just abandon valuable property. Danny knew she was right. He had been lucky so far, but that luck could not last forever. He needed to act fast. Over the next 3 days, he formed a plan. First, he needed to free Nova from the chains. The collar around her neck was locked with a heavy padlock. Danny borrowed a pair of bolt cutters from his father's garage, telling his dad he needed them for a school project. He felt bad about lying, but he had no choice. Each day after school, Danny worked on the chains. The metal was thick and strong, and his arms ached from the effort. Nova watched him work, staying perfectly still so he would not accidentally hurt her. Sometimes Danny felt encouragement flowing from her mind to his, giving him the strength to keep trying. On the 3rd day of trying, Danny was making progress on the last link of chain when he heard voices. They were far away but getting closer. Nova heard them too. Her whole body went stiff and Danny felt a wave of pure fear come through their connection. "The boss wants this one moved by Friday," a man's voice said. "Some rich buyer on Europa Station is paying top dollar for a young Lixari." "About time," another voice answered. "I am tired of coming out to this dump to feed it." Danny's hands shook as he worked the bolt cutters. The voices were getting closer. He had maybe 2 minutes before they arrived at the clearing. Nova was trembling now, her eyes wide with panic. Come on," Danny muttered, putting all his strength into the bolt cutters. His hands hurt and his shoulders burned, but he kept squeezing. Finally, with a loud crack, the link broke. The collar fell away from Nova's neck. She was free. The voices were very close now, just on the other side of a pile of old crates. Danny grabbed his backpack and looked at Nova. "Run," he whispered. But Nova did not run. She looked at Danny, then looked at the direction they needed to go. Through their connection, Danny felt her question clearly. She wanted to know if he was coming with her. "Yes," Danny said, making the decision in that instant. "Yes, I am coming with you. Let us go." They ran together just as 2 men in dark clothes stepped into the clearing. For a moment, the men just stood there, surprised. Then one of them shouted and reached for something at his belt. Danny did not wait to see what it was. He followed Nova as she darted between buildings and around corners. The alien wolf was fast, even with her recently injured paw. Danny struggled to keep up, his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. "Stop!" one of the men yelled behind them. "That animal is property of Sutton Enterprises." Property? The word made Danny angry. Nova was not property. She was a thinking, feeling person who had been stolen from her home and family. The fact that these men could not see that made Danny furious. They ran through the industrial district, Nova leading the way through gaps and passages that Danny would never have found on his own. But the men were still behind them, and they were not giving up. Danny heard one of them talking into a radio calling for backup. This was bad. This was very bad. Danny had not thought beyond freeing Nova. He had no plan for where to go or what to do next. They could not run forever, especially not with more people joining the chase. Nova suddenly turned down an alley and stopped at a rusty metal door. She looked at Danny, and he felt her thoughts clearly. Behind this door was a basement with another way out. But the door was locked, and Nova could not open it with her paws. Danny grabbed the handle and pulled hard. The door was old and stuck, but after a few tries it scraped open. They slipped inside just as the men rounded the corner behind them. Danny eased the door shut as quietly as he could. Inside was dark and smelled like mold and old water. Danny pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. They were in some kind of old storage room with broken furniture and piles of junk. Nova was already moving toward the back, where Danny could see another door. They made their way through the basement and out the other side. They emerged in a different part of the industrial district, but Danny could still hear shouting in the distance. The men were searching for them, and they had called for help. Nova led Danny through more twists and turns. His lungs were burning and his legs felt weak. He was not used to running this much. But every time he felt like he could not go on, he felt Nova's encouragement through their bond urging him forward. Finally, they reached a drainage tunnel. Nova did not hesitate. She splashed into the water and disappeared into the darkness. Danny followed, even though everything in his body was screaming at him to stop. The water was cold and dirty, coming up to his ankles. He used his phone light to see where he was going. They moved through the tunnel for what felt like forever. Danny could hear the men's voices echoing behind them, but the sound was faint and distorted. Eventually, they climbed out of another opening and found themselves near the edge of the district, close to the normal part of the city. Danny leaned against a wall, trying to catch his breath. His shoes were soaked, his pants were covered in dirty water, and his mother was going to ask so many questions when he got home. But none of that mattered right now. Nova sat down next to him, pressing her warm body against his side. Through their connection, Danny felt her exhaustion and pain. That run had not been easy for her either. Her paw was probably hurting again. "We need help," Danny said out loud. "I cannot do this alone. We need someone who can protect you and get you home." Nova looked up at him, and Danny felt her trust. She would follow wherever he led, even though she had only known him for a little over a week. That trust was both wonderful and Danny waited until dark before making his move. He could not just walk down the street with a glowing blue alien wolf. People would notice, and the last thing they needed was more attention. So they hid in an abandoned building until the sun went down, and the streets got quieter. During that time, Danny called his mother. He tried to sound normal, but his voice shook. "Mom, I need you to do me a favor. Can you unlock the back door to your clinic? I need to come in through there." "Danny, what is going on? You sound strange." "Where are you? I will explain everything when I get there." "Please, Mom, just trust me." There was a long pause. Then his mother sighed. "Okay, the back door will be unlocked. But you better have a good explanation for this." "I do. I promise." When it was finally dark enough, Danny and Nova made their way through the back streets toward his mother's veterinary clinic. They stayed in the shadows and avoided the main roads. A few times they had to hide when cars passed by. Danny's heart jumped every time he saw headlights. Nova stayed close to Danny's side the whole way. He kept one hand on her back, feeling her warmth through the fur. Through their mental connection, he could sense her nervousness. She did not like being in the city with all its strange smells and sounds. She wanted wide open spaces and the silver forests of her home. "Soon," Danny whispered to her. "I promise we will get you home soon." The clinic was in a quiet part of town. Danny's mother ran her practice from a small building with a house attached to the back where they lived. Danny led Nova around to the rear entrance. The door was unlocked, just as his mother had promised. They slipped inside. The clinic was dark except for a light coming from the office. Danny took a deep breath and walked toward it, with Nova padding silently behind him. His mother was sitting at her desk, looking at some papers. When Danny and Nova walked through the door, she looked up. Her eyes went wide and she dropped her coffee mug. It hit the desk and spilled everywhere, but she did not seem to notice. "Danny," she said slowly, "what in the name of everything holy is that?" Mom, this is Nova. She needs our help. Dr. Lisa Morgan stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving Nova. She was a tall woman with dark hair starting to show some gray. She had steady hands and a calm way of dealing with emergencies. But right now she looked completely shocked. That is Elixiri, she said quietly. Danny, do you have any idea how serious this is? I know it is an alien, if that is what you mean. No, you do not understand. His mother moved around the desk carefully, not making any sudden movements. The Lixari are one of the rarest species in the known galaxy. There are only a few thousand of them left. They are protected by about 20 different interstellar laws. Having one on Earth illegally is a crime that could get everyone involved sent to prison for life. Danny felt his stomach sink, but I did not kidnap her. I found her chained up and hurt. I was just trying to help. I believe you. His mother knelt down slowly a few feet away from Nova. Hello there, beautiful girl. I am not going to hurt you. Nova tilted her head, studying Dr. Morgan with her glowing amber eyes. Then, to Danny's surprise, Nova walked over to his mother and sniffed her hand. Through their connection, Danny felt Nova's approval. She could sense that Dr. Morgan was a healer, someone who helped animals. Nova trusted her. Oh my, Dr. Morgan whispered as Nova let her touch her head. She is magnificent. And her paw is injured. Danny, get me my medical kit from the exam room. For the next hour, Danny watched as his mother examined Nova thoroughly. She cleaned the wounds, checked Nova's teeth and eyes, and listened to her heart. All the while, she kept up a steady stream of gentle talk, the same voice she used with scared animals. While she worked, Danny explained everything. How he found Nova chained in the industrial district, how he had been visiting her every day, how they had formed some kind of mental bond, how the men had almost caught them today. His mother listened to all of it without interrupting. When Danny finished, she sat back and looked at him seriously. Those men you described work for smugglers, the worst kind of criminals. They steal rare creatures and sell them to rich people who do not care about laws or ethics. If they find out you helped Nova escape, you could be in real danger. What should we do? Danny asked. We need to contact the authorities. The proper authorities, not the local police. There is an organization called the Interstellar Wildlife Protection Agency. They handle cases like this. How long will that take? I do not know. Days, maybe weeks. They will need to verify Nova's identity, figure out where she came from, arrange transport back to her homeworld. Danny looked at Nova, who was watching them both. Through their bond, he felt her fear at the thought of being trapped in cages and facilities again, even if they were supposed to be helping her. Is there another way? Danny asked. Something faster? His mother was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone. There might be. I have a friend from my university days. His name is Peter Hayes. He works for the Human-Alien Relations Bureau. That is a government agency that deals with diplomatic issues involving alien species. If anyone can help us quickly, it is him. Can you call him? It is late, but this is an emergency. She dialed a number and waited. After a few rings, someone answered. Peter? This is Lisa Morgan. I know it is late, but I need your help with something urgent. She paused. No, everything is fine with me. But I have a situation here that you need to see to believe. Can you come to my clinic? Now, another pause. Yes, it is that important. Thank you. She hung up and looked at Danny. He will be here in 30 minutes. In the meantime, let me get Nova some proper food and water. They moved to the exam room where Dr. Morgan pulled out special food she kept for exotic animals. Nova ate hungrily. She had been surviving on whatever Danny could bring her, which was not nearly enough for a growing Lixari. While Nova ate, Danny sat beside her and kept his hand on her back. He could feel her exhaustion through their bond. The running and stress had taken a lot out of her. She needed rest and safety, not more running and hiding. How did you two form this telepathic bond? His mother asked. From what I know about Lixari, they do not usually connect with humans. They are very selective about who they link with. I do not know, Danny admitted. It just happened. At first it was just feelings, like knowing when she was scared or happy. But then she started sharing memories with me. I can see images from her past, feel what she felt. That is remarkable. The research papers I have read say that Lixari bonds are incredibly rare and special. They only form between individuals who have compatible minds and similar values. If Nova bonded with you, it means she sees something in you that resonates with her own nature. Danny looked at Nova, who had finished eating and was now resting with her head on his leg. What happens now? Can we really get her home? We are going to try. Peter is good at his job. If anyone can navigate the legal mess and get Nova to safety, it is him. They did not have to wait long. Soon there was a knock at the back door. Dr. Morgan let in a tall man in his 40s. He had kind eyes and a serious expression. He was carrying a briefcase and wore a jacket despite the warm night. "Lisa," he said, giving her a quick hug. "It has been too long. Now what is this emergency that could not wait until morning? Come see for yourself." Dr. Morgan led Peter to the exam room. When he saw Nova, he stopped in his tracks. His mouth fell open and he just stared for a long moment. "Is that what I think it is?" he finally said. "A Lixari, yes. How? Where? When?" Peter seemed unable to form complete sentences. Danny stood up. "I found her, sir. She was chained up and hurt. I have been taking care of her." Peter looked at Danny, then back at Nova, then at Lisa. "You realize what you have here, right? This is not just any Lixari. Look at the pattern in her fur, the coloring. Unless I am very wrong, this is a member of the royal family. The Lixari have a very strict social structure. The royal bloodline has specific markings that are passed down through generations." "What does that mean?" Danny asked. "It means that somewhere out there a very important Lixari family is missing their daughter. It also means that whoever smuggled her to Earth is guilty of an even worse crime than we thought. Kidnapping royalty could start an interstellar incident." Peter knelt down and let Nova sniff his hand, just as Dr. Morgan had done. "Hello, Your Highness," he said softly. "We are going to get you home." Through the bond, Danny felt Nova's reaction to being called royalty. She did not care about titles or status. She just wanted to be with her family again. She wanted to run through the Silver Forest with her pack and feel safe. "Can you help us?" Danny asked Peter. Peter stood up and brushed off his pants. "I can do better than that. There is a Lixari diplomatic ship currently in orbit around Mars. They have been searching for several missing Lixari pups for months. If we can get Nova to that ship, she can be home within a week." "How do we get her to Mars?" Dr. Morgan asked. "That is the tricky part. We need to move fast before the smugglers realize where Nova is. They will be searching everywhere for her. She is worth millions of credits on the black market." Peter paced back and forth, thinking. "I have contacts at the spaceport. There is a cargo ship leaving for Mars in 2 days. The captain owes me a favor. We could smuggle Nova aboard. 2 days?" Danny said. "Can we keep her hidden that long?" "We will have to. I will make some calls, get everything." The next 2 days passed in a strange mix of fear and hope. Danny stayed home from school telling his teachers he was sick. His mother supported the lie because she knew how important it was for Danny to stay with Nova. The bond between them had grown even stronger, and separating them now seemed cruel. Peter Hayes worked constantly, making phone calls and arranging details. The cargo ship captain, a woman named Kate Sullivan, had agreed to help. She was known for not asking too many questions and for having a strong sense of right and wrong. When Peter explained the situation, she immediately said yes. "Anyone who would chain up a Lixari pup deserves to rot in a cell," she had told Peter over the phone. "I will get your girl to Mars safely, and I will not charge you a single credit." During those 2 days, Danny learned more about Nova through their telepathic connection. She shared memories of her home planet, a world called Lexara Prime. The planet had 3 moons that created amazing tides and light patterns. The Lixari lived in great packs, sometimes hundreds strong, moving through forests that seemed alive with psychic energy. Nova showed Danny her family. Her mother was the pack leader, a wise and strong wolf with silver-tipped fur. Her father had died protecting the pack from predators when Nova was very young. Nova had 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. They had all been captured together during a hunt that went wrong. The smugglers had attacked with stun weapons and nets. The adult Lixari had tried to fight back, but the weapons were designed specifically to overcome psychic defenses. Nova and her siblings were knocked unconscious and taken before the rest of the pack could rescue them. Nova had woken up in a dark cage on a ship. Her siblings were in other cages nearby. They could still feel each other through their telepathic bonds, but they could not reach each other. The smugglers kept them separated and sedated for most of the journey. When they arrived on Earth, they were split up and sold to different buyers. Nova did not know what happened to her brothers and sister. Their mental bonds had been broken by distance and the drugs the smugglers used. Nova feared they were dead or suffering somewhere far away. Danny felt tears running down his face as he experienced Nova's grief and fear. He wrapped his arms around her and held her tight. "I am so sorry," he whispered. "I wish I could find them too." Through the bond, Nova sent him a feeling of gratitude. She knew Danny would help her siblings if he could. But right now, the most important thing was getting Nova home safely. Once she was with her pack, they could search for the others. Peter visited the clinic several times to check on things. On the second day, he brought a special container that would be Nova's hiding place on the cargo ship. "It is designed to look like standard cargo," Peter explained. "But inside there is plenty of room for Nova and for you." "For me?" Danny asked. "You are coming with her. We cannot separate you two now. The stress could harm both of you, especially Nova. That telepathic bond you share is real and powerful. Breaking it suddenly could cause psychological damage." Danny looked at his mother, expecting her to argue. Instead, she just sighed and nodded. "I hate this," she said. "I hate sending my son on a dangerous journey into space. But Peter is right. You and Nova need each other now." She put her hands on Danny's shoulders and looked him in the eye. "You be careful up there. You listen to Captain Sullivan, and you come home safe." "I will, Mom, I promise." Dr. Morgan had tears in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "Peter, you better make sure nothing happens to my boy." "I will do everything in my power," Peter said seriously. "Once they reach the Lixari diplomatic ship, they will be under full protection. The Lixari take care of their own, and they will be very grateful to Danny for saving Nova." That night, Danny lay on a cot next to Nova in the exam room. He could not sleep. His mind was racing with thoughts about the journey ahead. He had never been to space before. He had never even left his home state. And now he was going to Mars with an alien princess. Nova was awake too. She rested her head on Danny's chest and he scratched behind her ears. "Are you scared?" he asked her quietly. Through the bond, Nova sent him a complex mixture of feelings. Yes, she was scared, but she was also hopeful. And she was grateful to have Danny with her. She did not want to face this alone. "We will face it together," Danny promised. The next morning came too quickly. Peter arrived early with a van. They needed to get Nova to the spaceport before the morning shift change, when there would be fewer people around to notice them. Dr. Morgan hugged Danny so tight he could barely breathe. "I love you," she said. "Be safe, and take care of Nova." "I will. I love you too, Mom." They loaded Nova into the special container. It was larger than Danny expected, with padded walls and good ventilation. There were supplies inside: food, water, blankets, and even some books for Danny to read. Peter had thought of everything. Danny climbed in after Nova and settled down next to her. The container would be sealed from the outside, but there was a communication device so they could talk to Captain Sullivan during the journey. "Ready?" Peter asked. "As ready as I will ever be," Danny replied. Peter sealed the container and everything went dark except for a small light that turned on automatically. Danny heard the sound of the container being loaded into the van. Then they were moving. The journey to the spaceport took about an hour. Danny could not see anything, but he could hear muffled sounds from outside. Nova stayed pressed against him and he kept one hand on her back the whole time. Finally, the van stopped. Danny heard voices and the sound of machinery. The container was being moved again, lifted by some kind of crane or forklift. Then everything got quieter. After what felt like forever, there was a knock on the container. 3 quick knocks, then 2 slow ones. That was the signal Peter had told them about. The container opened and bright light flooded in. Danny blinked and saw a woman looking down at them. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and a weathered face. She wore a captain's uniform that had seen better days. "You must be Danny and Nova," she said. "I am Kate Sullivan. Welcome aboard the Star Runner." Danny climbed out of the container and Nova jumped down beside him. They were in a cargo hold filled with crates and equipment. The walls were metal and Danny could hear the hum of engines somewhere nearby. "The rest of my crew thinks you are just regular cargo," Kate explained. "Only my first mate knows the truth and he can be trusted. You will need to stay in this section of the hold during the journey. I have set up a space for you behind those crates over there. It is not fancy, but it is private and comfortable enough." She led them to a corner of the hold where she had arranged some crates to form walls. Inside was a small area with blankets, pillows, more supplies, and even a portable toilet. "We will be in space for about 2 weeks," Kate said. "I will bring you meals 3 times a day. There is a water dispenser right there. If you need anything, use this communicator to call me. Do not leave this area unless I specifically tell you it is safe." "Understood?" "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. Thank you for helping us. Kate smiled and her whole face changed. She looked kind and warm. I have been hauling cargo for 30 years. This is the first time my cargo actually matters. You are doing a good thing, kid. That Lixari pup deserves to go home. She reached out slowly and let Nova sniff her hand. Nova gave a small approving sound. She likes you, Danny said. Animals always know who to trust. Now we are going to launch in about an hour. It might get a bit bumpy during takeoff. Just hold on tight and do not worry. I have made this trip 1,000 times. Kate left them alone and Danny settled down with Nova. He pulled out one of the books he had packed and tried to read, but he could not focus. He was too nervous about the launch. Through their bond, Nova sent him feelings of calm and support. She had been on a spaceship before, though under much worse circumstances. This time she was traveling with someone she trusted. That made all the difference. An hour later, a loud alarm sounded. Then Danny felt the ship begin to move. There was a low rumble that grew louder and louder. The whole ship started to shake. Danny wrapped his arms around Nova and held on. The shaking got worse. Danny felt his body being pressed down by incredible force. It was hard to breathe. This must be the G-forces that happened during launch. He had read about them but never experienced them. Just when Danny thought he could not take it anymore, the pressure eased. The shaking stopped. The rumbling faded to a steady background hum. They were in space. Danny let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Nova licked his face, and through the bond he felt her amusement. She thought his fear was a little bit funny, though she understood it too. Kate's voice came through the communicator. "How are you two doing back there?" "We are okay," Danny said. "That was intense. It gets easier. Welcome to space, kid. Next stop, Mars." The days that followed fell into a routine. Kate brought them meals and checked on them regularly. Danny read books, played simple games with Nova, and talked to her through their telepathic connection. Nova shared more memories of her home, and Danny told her about Earth and human culture. The small space was cramped, but Danny did not mind. He was on an adventure, traveling through space with an alien friend. It was like something out of the science fiction stories he loved to read, sometime arranged. Kate Sullivan moved quickly. She told her crew to prepare for possible combat, though she did not tell them why. Danny could hear the alarm sounds echoing through the ship and the sound of running feet as crew members rushed to their stations. "Stay here, and stay quiet," Kate told Danny and Nova. "Do not come out no matter what you hear. If something happens to me, the first mate knows to protect you. His name is Carlos Rodriguez, and he is a good man." Then she was gone, running toward the bridge. Danny sat down and pulled Nova close. Through their bond, he could feel her tension. She understood the danger they were in. The ship that was following them was getting closer. Kate's voice came through the speakers, addressing the other vessel. "Unknown ship, this is the Star Runner. You are following too close. Please adjust your course and maintain proper spacing." A man's voice answered, cold and professional. "Star Runner, this is the corporate vessel Morning Star. We have reason to believe you are carrying stolen property. Prepare to be boarded for inspection. This is a licensed cargo hauler. I have all proper documentation. You have no authority to board my ship. We have all the authority we need. Cut your engines and prepare for boarding. If you resist, we will disable your ship by force." Kate did not respond. Instead, the Star Runner suddenly changed direction and accelerated. Danny felt the shift in motion and grabbed onto a nearby crate to steady himself. Nova braced her legs and managed to stay upright. The chase was on. For the next 30 minutes, Kate pushed her ship to its limits. She changed course constantly, trying to shake their pursuers. But the other ship was faster and better equipped. It matched every move Kate made and slowly closed the distance. "They are arming weapons," someone on the bridge yelled. "Captain, they are going to shoot at us." "Brace for impact," Kate commanded. A moment later, the ship shook violently. Danny heard a loud explosion and the sound of metal grinding. Alarms started blaring. They had been hit. Through the communicator, Danny heard chaos on the bridge. People were shouting about damage reports and system failures. The ship's engines were failing. They were losing power. Danny felt panic rising in his chest. Nova pressed against him, trying to comfort him, but she was scared too. They had come so far. They could not fail now. Then Nova did something Danny had never felt her do before. She closed her eyes and went very still. Danny felt her consciousness expand outward, reaching beyond the ship. It was like watching a ripple spread across water, moving faster and faster through space. Nova was calling for help. She was sending out a telepathic distress signal, reaching as far as she could. Danny had no idea if anyone would hear it, but he could feel the effort it took. Nova was using every bit of her psychic strength. On the bridge, Kate was arguing with the other ship. "You damaged a civilian vessel. That is an act of piracy. I am sending a distress call to Mars Authority." "Your distress call will not arrive in time," the cold voice replied. "Cut your engines and surrender the Lixari pup, and we will let you and your crew go unharmed." "I do not know what you are talking about. I am hauling machine parts, not animals. We know the truth. We have been tracking that pup since it was stolen from us. Hand it over or we will board your ship by force and take it." Kate did not answer. Through the communicator, Danny heard her talking quietly to her crew. "Carlos, how long until we reach Mars orbital space?" "At current speed, 40 minutes. But Captain, we will not last that long. They will board us in 10 minutes, maybe less." Danny felt helpless. He wanted to do something, anything to help. But what could a 15-year-old kid do against armed smugglers? Nova suddenly opened her eyes. Through their bond, Danny felt a surge of hope. Someone had heard her call. Someone was coming. "Kate," Danny said into the communicator. "Nova says help is coming." I do not know who or how, but she reached out telepathically. Someone heard her. There was a pause. Then Kate said, "Kid, I hope you are right. Because we are out of options here." The other ship was moving into position to dock with the Star Runner. Danny could hear the clamps attaching to the hull. They were about to be boarded. He looked around desperately for something he could use as a weapon. There was nothing. Just cargo crates and supplies. Then something incredible happened. Space itself seemed to tear open. That was the only way Danny could describe it. One moment there was nothing, and the next moment a ship appeared. But this was not like any ship Danny had ever seen, even in pictures. It was alive with light, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and flow like water. It was beautiful. The Lixari diplomatic ship had arrived. Kate's voice over the speakers was filled with awe. "Holy stars. What is that?" The Lixari ship moved between the Star Runner and the smuggler vessel. A voice came over the comms, speaking in a language Danny did not understand. But through his bond with Nova, he could understand the meaning. "You are attacking a ship that carries a member of the Lixari royal family. Cease immediately and withdraw or you will be destroyed." The smuggler ship did not move. There was a long silence. Then the cold voice spoke again, but this time it sounded uncertain. "This is a corporate matter. The creature in question is legally owned property. The Lixari are not property. They are sentient beings protected by galactic law. You have 30 seconds to release your docking clamps and retreat. This is your only warning." For a moment, Danny thought the smugglers might actually try to fight, but then the docking clamps released. The smuggler ship backed away slowly, then turned and accelerated away as fast as it could go. Kate laughed over the comms. "They are running. They are actually running. I cannot believe it." The Lixari ship moved closer to the Star Runner. The voice spoke again, this time in English. "Star Runner, we thank you for protecting our young one. We are sending a shuttle to collect her and her human companion. Your bravery will be remembered." 2 hours later, Danny and Nova stood in the shuttle bay of the Lixari diplomatic ship. Danny had said goodbye to Kate, thanking her for everything. She had hugged him and told him he was the bravest kid she had ever met. Now as the shuttle doors opened, Danny saw something that took his breath away. The inside of the Lixari ship looked like a forest. There were trees growing inside the ship, or something like trees. Their leaves glowed with soft light and the air smelled fresh and clean. It was like bringing a piece of Lexera Prime into space. Several adult Lixari waited in the bay. They were magnificent, larger than Nova and moving with incredible grace. Their fur shimmered with different colors, silver, gold, deep purple. One of them stepped forward and Danny recognized her from Nova's memories. It was Nova's mother. The reunion was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. Nova ran to her mother and they pressed their heads together. Danny could feel the emotions pouring through his bond with Nova. Joy, relief, love, grief for the siblings who were still missing. Both wolves were crying, making sounds that were both joyful and sad. Nova's mother was a queen among her people, but right now she was just a mother who had found her lost child. She nuzzled Nova and licked her face, checking her over for injuries. Then she turned to Danny. Through Nova, her mother spoke to him. Danny heard the words in his mind clear and strong. "You saved my daughter. You protected her when she was helpless. You showed her kindness when the world showed her only cruelty. The Lixari do not forget such debts. Danny felt overwhelmed. I just did what anyone should have done. But most would not have. You risked your safety, your freedom, and your life for a creature you had just met. That speaks to the quality of your heart. Nova pressed against Danny's side. Through their bond, he felt her love and gratitude. He also felt her sadness. She knew they would have to say goodbye soon. Danny would go back to Earth and Nova would stay with her people. You will always be part of our pack, Nova's mother continued. Always welcome among the Lixari. We would be honored if you would visit us on Lixara Prime. We have much to show you and much to learn from you. I would like that, Danny said, his voice thick with emotion. I would like that very much. The Lixari offered to let Danny stay on their ship for a while, to rest and recover from the difficult journey. They gave him a room that looked out onto their indoor forest. Danny spent his time walking among the glowing trees and learning about Lixari culture. Nova stayed with him constantly. They knew their time together was limited, and they wanted to make the most of it. Nova showed Danny how the Lixari communicated with the trees through psychic touch. The trees were not truly alive in the way animals were, but they responded to thoughts and emotions. Walking through the forest felt like walking through someone's peaceful dream. Danny met other members of Nova's pack. They were curious about him, this human boy who had bonded with one of their own. Some of them were shy, watching from a distance. Others came close and let Danny touch them, sharing brief flashes of emotion and thought. One of the adult Lixari, an old wolf with pure white fur, told Danny through Nova's translation that humans had potential. Most species could not form telepathic bonds with Lixari at all. The fact that Danny had done so naturally meant that humans HD psychic abilities that they had not yet discovered. Your people are young, the old wolf said. But you are growing. In time you may join the galactic community, not just as builders and traders but as true partners in consciousness.